and thank you so much for joining us. My name's Imani Rupert Gordon, and I'm the Executive Director for Affinity Community Services. Affinity is a social justice organization, and we work with Black LGBTQ women and other LGBTQ communities of color on the south side of Chicago. Now remember, we are on a call-in show right now, so if you have a question for either myself or our guest, or if you have a comment or you just want to hear yourself on television, feel free to give us a call, and know that Erica is in the call center and she will put you through. Erica, thank you so much for your help. We love working with you. So I'd like to introduce my guests right now. So this is Alexia Ward. Alexia is a certified public accountant, and though that's a very interesting job, what we are most interested in is her volunteer work. She's done a lot of work with inclusive healthcare access, working with criminal justice reform, and then also currently she is on the National Board of Directors for the Point Foundation. Point Foundation is the nation's largest scholarship granting organization for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer students of merit. Thank you so much, Alexia, for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, the pleasure's mine. So first, I'd like you to introduce yourself. We know that a lot of our listeners are interested in the services that organizations offer, but also people are really interested in the people doing it because sometimes they want to follow in your career trajectory and be just like you. So I'm wondering if you could tell us about your professional trajectory and how you ended up at Point Foundation.
Sure. Well, thank you again for having me, Imani. You know, the first time I moved to Chicago back in 2001, I was the volunteer and events coordinator at Lesbian Community Cancer Project, as it was known at the time. Mm-hmm. The last time I moved back to Chicago was in 2010. And, you know, I came and was working at a public accounting firm and really looking for an organization, a social justice issue that resonated with me, that activated me in the way that LCCP had in the past. I joined the LGBT Affinity group at work at the firm at the time, and then took on a leadership role there. So our group, our professional network, were invited back in 2011 to the National Leadership Conference at Point Foundation. And my experience that night at the gala with, you know, all of my colleagues are there and all these fantastic scholars and donors and supporters. I think Judith Light was the keynote address speaker that night. And we were seated at the table with a current Point scholar at the time. And just the inspiration that we received from these academic leaders and their community service, the way that they spoke about the foundation and how they were being supported in their academic pursuits just really made it a no-brainer. I got more and more involved in the coming months. In 2013, I joined the Board of Trustees, and then in 2016, I joined the National Board of Directors.
Wonderful, thank you. So I'm also wondering if you can tell us a bit more about Point Foundation. I said a little bit about it, but certainly didn't do it justice. Could you tell us more about what you all do?
Certainly. So as you said, Point is the nation's largest scholarship granting organization for LGBT undergraduate and graduate students. So we provide mentorship, leadership training and development, and opportunities for community service. It's actually a requirement once you become a Point Scholar. So really what struck me back in 2011 at that gala was three things. You know, that this was LGBT specific, that there was leadership training that was part of the support, not just financial support. And really important to me also was that once you are accepted as a scholar, that continues throughout your academic career. So if you come in as a sophomore, you will receive a scholarship funding, financial support for the rest of your college education. So up until 5 years, you can continue to receive financial support.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. So obviously there are benefits for being a mentee, or a scholar, I should say. I know that you have mentorship positions. What are the other ways that people can be involved in the Point Foundation?
Well, in the fall and the winter, we are looking for application readers. This is a really critical part of the selection process. Last year, we had over 2,100 students start and complete the first part of the Point application. That's a lot of people all over the country. And so that first reading, you know, and applying the requirements of academic achievement, leadership, and demonstrated leadership within your community, as well as demonstrating your financial need, is a very important part of the selections process. And as you know, if you want to have a diverse scholarship recipients, then you're going to need some diverse readers of those applications. And so we really encourage folks that are watching that, become a point application reader. We need you in the fall, we need you in the winter. You can also apply to be a mentor. It's just as important for our scholars that they have mentors who are supporting them, who look like them, who've had similar experiences to them. So whether it's geography or profession or gender identity or sexual orientation, we're trying to match the best fit for the scholars to the mentor. So we highly encourage you to apply there. And of course, we want you to come to our events. Every year we have a Cornerstone event, which is an opportunity to meet many of the local scholars who are benefiting from their participation with Point, as well as all the people who are committed to Point through reading applications, being mentors, and many of our alum join us at that event as well.
That's awesome, thank you. So I know that Point Foundation also tries to continuously make the program relevant for all Point scholars. And so one of the new programs you have is working specifically with LGBTQ scholars that are at community colleges. And I was wondering if you could talk about what went into the thinking to provide this access to LGBTQ scholars.
Well, it turns out that nearly half of all students seeking higher education degree enter into an undergraduate program from a community college program.
Wow.
Half of them. I couldn't believe that number.
Wow.
So we were noticing this in the folks who were applying for our scholarships, that many were coming from community college, and yet that they had access to different resources. They had different financial needs, they had different community support that was taking them into their college, and realizing that, this is formidable step, right, from the financial perspective as well as just transitioning into a four-year college or university. We wanted to come up with a program that supported those students. So we created the community college program as a pilot program in 2 cities in 2016, very recently.
Yes.
It's 1 year complete. We had 25 students in the community college program the first year. And besides the financial package that they receive, up to $3,700 for that last year of community college, they also receive a coach, which is sort of like a mentor, but has a bit more practical application. Practical application we also see in the transfer symposium, which kind of serves as the leadership. You kind of see how they're similar. Kind of serves as the leadership conference and training for these students. And there, it's a required 2-day weekend, and they receive training in things like putting together your financial aid package, transitioning to four-year college campus life, because maybe you were living at home when you were attending community college, helping with the personal statement that you have to write for your application, pulling the application together, and helping to make sure that the credits that you have from community college are transferring into that four-year university that you're seeking.
Great. Wow, that's a lot. That's awesome.
We're really proud of that program.
Yes. That's amazing. So I'm also wondering, so Affinity has participated with Point, and I've participated with Point as a mentor. And so I'm wondering, I had a wonderful experience, and I'm wondering, how do people describe their experience in whatever capacity that they're working with Point? How does it impact their lives?
Right, so as a mentor, you got to see firsthand how just outside stakeholders can benefit from these relationships. And, for me personally, they make me want to work harder and smarter and contribute even more resources to enable their success.
Yes.
But really when I talk to the scholars and alum, especially when we bring them together, when we all come together at like the selections process that we have, which is live interviews in LA each year, the final selections process, or leadership conferences that we hold every year, either for an industry or the National Leadership Conference, where we try to get the whole Point, all of alum and donors and mentors and readers and everybody together. what I always overhear is, somebody new to Point Foundation who's saying, this is the first time that I have ever been around a big gay family. I feel like I've just been invited into this powerhouse of a group of successful LGBT people who look like me and who want to support me and want to see me be successful. And what it does is it emboldens them to go back and keep doing the great work that got them there in the first place,
Awesome.
and knowing that this great support exists.
Wow, that's awesome. So, like I had just mentioned, Affinity has worked with Point Foundation before, and just earlier this year we had an intergenerational panel discussion on the history of activism, which I thought went so wonderfully. We had such a great time. I heard something from some of the scholars, and it seemed like they enjoyed it as well. And I was just wondering, how can Point partner with other organizations? How would that work, and what would it look like?
Right. Well, I'm so happy that you brought that up because that event, it's really one of my favorite that we've done here in Chicago. At the time, February, March, we were all pretty raw around, the new presidential administration, some of the orders that were coming out that were very counter to our values, and, dealing with immigration issues and access to healthcare issues. And it was very important to us while we were planning that regional leadership conference that, we worked with someone that we recognized that we weren't in this alone. That none of us are working in silos, that there are other people carrying out this work in different ways and with all of our communities. And so let's partner together. Let's kick this off together and figure out how we're going to take care of one another in this resistance. And it felt so good. So that was a great success. And, it was the idea of partnering with Affinity was really born out of a conference we'd held a couple years ago. One of the exercises that we did in one of our workshops was we wanted to battle a social justice issue, a challenge that we saw in our community. And so we called around town and we found someone who said, yes, sure, I'll come and I'll spend the weekend with you. These are the specific issues that our organization on the South Side are trying to overcome, so maybe present this to your group. And so when we broke out into small groups, everybody came up with resolutions for these real-time problems that this organization was dealing with. And so we try to be creative, we try to make it something that, is a need now, whether that's we need allies in the fight for the resistance or, we need someone to partner with, to really give our scholars an opportunity to see actual community service projects, right? To put something into place that is going to have real value to the communities that we live in.
That's awesome. So if you're hearing that, organizations, these are wonderful ways to partner, and I can attest to Point Foundation being just a wonderful, wonderful organization.
Well, if Affinity can attest, you can reach out to Amani, you can reach out to me, you can, go to pointfoundation.org, and we'd love to hear from you in ways that, our scholars can partner with you for their community service projects.
Awesome. So I want to switch gears a little bit. This is my favorite question to ask. I'm wondering, what is a success of Point Foundation? Give us something that you're particularly proud of.
Oh, well, I have to tell a Chicago story if
Yeah,
I'm going
you
to
do.
talk. I'm talking about a national organization, but I got to
Yes.
keep it Chicago if I'm going to talk about what we're proud of.
You do.
I was talking to one of our current scholars recently. She's going to be the keynote address speaker at one of our fundraisers in LA in a couple of weeks. And she's currently finishing her graduate work at the University of Chicago. And she was formerly a high school teacher with CPS. So the young woman who's introducing her as the keynote speaker in a couple of weeks is a former mentor of hers from CPS High School. She lives on the South Side. She is currently a senior at Oberlin College that she'll be completing next spring. And after applying 3 times to be a Point Scholar, this year she's entered as the 2017-2018 Scholar class.
Wow.
And how more proud can I
Yeah.
be than, the whole Point family? Like, I mean, this is after generations, like learning to mentor and to reach back and to bring those that came up with you up to the place of success that you are right now. That's what I love about Point.
That's amazing. And it's also good to know that, it's a competitive application process, and that folks are continuing to be part of it, that it resonates so much with people that they're continuing to apply. And that is lovely that she was able to get in. That's awesome.
I always say, if I applied to be a scholar, I'm not smart enough. They're pretty rich with their experiences.
They are amazing. They are amazing. But also it seems like, in the times that I've interacted with scholars, they all have different experiences and got there in different ways,
It's really true. And,
Yeah.
the things that we're looking for, your leadership skills are very different when you are a graduate student versus, when you just graduated from high school. How you demonstrate what you've done to make an impact on your community can be very different. And so very often we're looking for that spark in students that says, this is what they're capable of. And so that story that I told says that, we can identify someone who's a freshman in college and bring them through the Point process, and they get it and want to have other people get that same access that they had.
That's amazing. So if someone wanted to get involved in Point Foundation, what would they do? And then specifically, I'm wondering, what kind of skills are you looking for? Or are there any types of positions or anything at all that you'd like people to know?
Well, if you visit pointfoundation.org, go to our website, and you can get immediately access the contact information for our mentor manager, for our internship program manager, to our program director. And these are folks that can walk you through the things that I've been talking about, becoming a reader and becoming a mentor. It's really important to us to have as diverse of a pool of applicants as we possibly can every year. And so it's really important to us that you encourage young people to apply, tell them that you heard about this scholarship and that we want you to consider yourself as one of the great LGBT leaders of tomorrow.
Yes.
And so especially, trans-identified and people of color and non-binary, as diverse as our readers, our mentors, and our applicants are, then the better we feel about the work that we're doing with the Point Foundation.
That's amazing. And so, I think you may have said before, when are applications due? So when do people apply to be a Point Scholar?
Thank you for asking.
Yes.
I said that we read applications in the fall and the winter, but I wasn't specific. So in November, applications open. That's the first part of the application, and we read up until January. The community college applications, actually that application period starts in the spring of 2018 will be the next time.
Wonderful. Spring of 2018. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. And so, the last word's yours. Is there anything else you'd like us to know? You talked about your Cornerstone event earlier. When does that happen? Or
we would love to see you at our Cornerstone. It's taking place this year in February. So if you are visiting our website, if you are reaching out for more information, please keep your eye out. We'd love to have you at that event. And again, I really encourage you, tell your friends, activate your network, tell young people to apply to this scholarship.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure having you today.
I really appreciated being here. Thank you for thinking of us.
Of course, of course. And so remember, if you want to find out more about Point Foundation, you can find them at pointfoundation.org. And again, my name's Imani Rupert Gordon. I'm the Executive Director for Affinity Community Services. If you are interested in being part of CAN-TV, if you have an idea for a show idea, or you think you'd like to be on CAN-TV, you can email me at Imani, I-M-A-N-I, at affinity95.org. I'd love to hear from you. So thank you for spending your Friday night with us. And remember, you can find out more about us at affinity95.org. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.